Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jade Monkey. We're back here in Rust, and we're talking about building basics. How to build if you're brand new in Rust for both PlayStation, Xbox, and the PC. So this is for everybody, specifically for us on console, as the beta and the release are just around the corner here in 2020. So this is very exciting. So this is to help everybody. Yeah. All right. So building in Rust is so crazy and so awesome. It's unique. It's unique in a lot of ways. So it's almost like where to start. So one of the things you have to remember about Rust building right out of the gate is things are very permanent here. Things can be stolen from you if you don't have ownership through the tool cupboard, which is a system we'll go through. And once things are being built and you pass this like minute window, things are absolutely positively stuck there. So you have to have a little bit of forethought, a little bit of free form, and kind of know how some of the mechanics work. And what's really cool about this game, it sounds weird at first, is the upkeep system. And again, we'll go over that. But the upkeep system enables you to be an active participant in a server. So giant zergs have to actively farm big bases. And again, we'll go over the specifics later. But also it gives people an opportunity that are new to the game, or even the server, to come in and start to steal or scavenge other bases that are decaying or have been raided, or both. So we'll go over those specifics. But yes, Rust for PlayStation 4 and Xbox. I'm so excited. Hopefully by the time you guys are watching this, this is actively a thing for the beta. And I cannot wait for the release for this game. This game is so much fun. Okay, so let's go over some of the material basics. Now, again, since I don't have any of the console mappings for the controller or the keybinds, we're going to call them by their actual button names from the keybinds here on the PC. So bear with me. Once we get more information in the future, I'll be sure to add that on. Okay, so primary attack and the secondary attack is left and right mouse buttons. So primary is left, secondary is right. So we'll call that use 1 and use 2. So primary is use 1 and use 2 is secondary attack. And oh, no, I'm sorry. Action 1 is primary attack, and Action 2 is secondary attack. And then use button. So for me, it's E, but I'm sure it's going to be a button of some sort, whether you're on Xbox or PlayStation. They have very similar controllers, so it's going to be pretty close. Again, once we're in the beta, we'll have a better idea. So hopefully this helps. Okay, so when you start off, you're not going to start off with a bow or an arrow or all this extra gear, but you will start with a rock and a torch. And I know this sounds simple, but you do need to know these things. Okay, the two primary resources you're going to hit the most when you start off on a server is trees and stones. So a stone is a universal harvesting tool, but it's very slow. When you hit a tree, you'll see an X, and it's a lot like the Fortnite's critical system, where you can get things faster if you hit the X. And believe me, you really want to hit the X when you're talking about rocks, because they're really slow. And it also makes a lot of noise, so other players would definitely be privy to your location. Now, to start off building, you really need to have a good 3,000 units of wood to even think about just starting even a little shanty. So we'll go ahead and knock this tree down completely. And you want to make sure you clear a node, because you do get a bonus for finishing it, whether you hit the criticals or not. And you should get the same amount of wood in most cases. It just takes a lot longer. Okay, there we go. Tree's down. Let me show you what a stone node looks like. And we'll go over the other types of nodes and materials and processing. But I want to get you familiar with the basics. Jeez. Okay, here's what a stone node looks like. And again, the criticals are a twinkle. Right there. Now, you have a choice. You can keep harvesting with the stone, which makes it, I was going to say less likely for somebody to clap your cheeks, but let's be honest, it's Rust. Everyone's going to be after your cheeks all the time. So really, you want to try to upgrade to a stone hatchet and a stone pickaxe. Excuse me. Let me turn these to default. I have a lot of crazy skins for these. And then let me turn this one over here. Okay, I'm going to go over to this chest here, and I have a bunch of things already laid out in the interest of making things easier to understand. Okay. Oh, wait, no, here are the tools. I'm sorry. Oh, I took one of the tools out. What a jerk. I think I put it over here. Hang on. I did. I totally took it out. Man. Okay, so you can do this with a rock, but again, it's going to take you much longer. Usually you want to go and upgrade as quickly as possible. So going from top to bottom, we have the hatchet. Obviously, that's for collecting wood, and that costs 200 wood and 100 stone. And we can, do we have enough of this? I think we do. All right, I'm going to craft one of these right now. Boop. And you don't need a workbench or anything for this. You can just craft it in your inventory, and it does take 30 seconds. We'll keep the hatchet going because that's the one we need off the rip, at least in my opinion. Okay, so the pickaxe is 200 wood and 100 stone. So already you can see wood is a huge component. But duly noted, most times, not most times, but there are a few times when you do get started where you don't have access to stone, or stone is heavily contested, especially if it's a wipe day on a server or it's a new server for you. It just depends. So a lot of times you may have to make do with just a very bad rock and just keep harvesting. Already you can see the harvesting is going much quicker. So, okay, you're like, alright, cool, Jade, I get it. Materials. But what about the building? Alright, here we go. So you do need some basic tools to get started with building. And I did harvest some wood ahead of time, so we're not going to have to worry about this. Alright, just want to show you how much faster that is. Okay, so roughly you want about 3,000 wood to get started, but you're going to need a few basics to get things going. If you're going to build a base, to even put a sleeping bag down in, which I would highly recommend that anybody does to get started, because you'll see, it's crazy out there. Doesn't matter what server you're on. Okay, so let's say we've harvested all this wood. The next things you're going to need to start building are a construction hammer, or it's just called a hammer. We have building plans and a tool cupboard. Tool cupboard comes with its own set of rules, and we'll go over that. And since we don't have refined materials yet, because we're just starting, unless you clap somebody and you had 100 fragments, you're just going to have access to, a key lock, and that's going to cost you 100 wood. So already, just to get started, before you even build anything, Twig, you're going to need, what is this, 1,220 units of wood. So what we're going to do is we're going to craft the hammer, and it should be over in construction. I'm sorry, that's under tools. Hammer. And then we're going to do construction. We're going to do the tool cupboard, which is really expensive. 1,000 units of wood. Yikes, and that'll take about a minute. And then we'll do the building plans. And I'll take the key lock out of one of these other ones. We start to talk about things here. And I'll grab a few extra materials, just so I don't have to dip back here. Is that good? We good? Did I get it? Am I missing anything? Maybe. Okay. So if you're walking around, you'll see things like this. Let me just show you what the different materials look like. This is twig. This is the lowest level. It's very easy to shoot down. Let me just show you real quick. If you had a bow and arrow or any kind of melee, watch, I'll walk up to it. It's about half damage. Pick up my, there you go, 610. And collapsed. Now, twig is great because it helps you kind of sketch out what you want to do, but then you commit it to building other layers. And the reason why I say that is, maybe I'm doing this out of order, but we'll see. I see a lot of people start with twig, but they don't know how to upgrade, so they'll have things like their tool cupboard right there. And then, like, I don't have to attack the tool cupboard. I just attack the weak foundation, and then it all is destroyed. So, yeah, keep that in mind. Twig is great, but when you do know what you want, make sure you solidify it and make it something, at least wood, if you don't know. But again, one of the major things in Rust is building permanence. Once you build and you've passed that window of roughly a minute, things are there for good. Whether you want them there or not, whether it's your building or not, things are very permanent. So it's both a good thing and a bad thing. So let's say we get started here, and we're like, yeah, this looks like a good starter base for us. Right, let me put a lid on top. Well, actually, let me back up. Okay, so to build that foundation, you're going to make sure you have your construction plan out. And then I'm hitting Action 2, which is mouse button 2 or right mouse button. If I have the construction plans out and I have wood, I can hold the Action 2 button, and now we have the wheel of construction here. And that'll lend itself very well to the radial analog sticks and selecting things. Let's just select a foundation like we did here. And we can start to add things like this. Actually, let me just do it over here. That's a bit complex for us getting started. Bingo. Okay, so we have this placed. And now we can place, well, let's talk about claiming. So we have this placed down and we're like, great. How do we own this? Because I don't see anything that says that we own it. Ownership will show up just above your health, water, and food. It'll say building privilege. So what you do to claim this area as yours or for your team, you place down a tool cupboard. When the tool cupboard's down, it's still not yours. Actually, no, I think it automatically, it does. It automatically authorizes you. But if you have teammates and they would like to be authorized, you're going to hold the action button, or the use button, excuse me, which is E for us. And then you're going to add. In this case, since I'm already there, it's going to show up as deauthorized. Again, we have the radial menu. And you can clear the authorized list. And that's if you were to steal it. Now, you're probably asking yourself, this is really exposed. Anybody can come up and hit authorize? Yes, they can. Or they can shoot out the bottom like we just did. So that's bad. So what you want to do is, first of all, you're going to want to stick a lock on the tool cupboard. So if you have 100 wood, make a wooden lock or just a key lock. Okay, let's talk about upgrading while that's being crafting. To upgrade the structure to something better than twig is, if you have the wood, you're going to take out your building hammer, or just hammer, and then hold the Action 2 button, hold it down, and then you'll see a radial menu. Now, this here is kind of tricks people, because they're like, oh, you can demolish things. Only for like a minute, and that's only for a minute if you have a tool cupboard down. If I didn't have the tool cupboard down, let me just show you. If I didn't have this down, and I just were to build this, watch how I can't, if I hold the hammer now, switch to the hammer, and now I'm holding Action 2, notice this destruction thing is no longer there, because nobody has ownership. I can just upgrade things. And again, after a minute, you basically have to destroy the structure in its entirety after that. So we're going to place another tool cupboard down. If you watch, I'm already authorized. You can tell because the lower right hand corner, it says building privilege with a Lego brick. Now if it's within the time frame, and I have the hammer out, and I hold right mouse button, or in this case, Action 2, now you see the demolish option. But what you also see right out of the gate is at the almost 12-ish, 1 o'clock-ish, this is upgrade to wood, which costs 200, upgrade to stone, or upgrade to metal sheets. Now, you may just want to go big right away, but I'm telling you, you always want to take baby steps. So we already found out how easy it is to knock out a TC on twig, so we're going to take it in baby steps. We're going to upgrade it to wood. Costs 200. Now, if we look right next to the building privilege, it also says building decaying, and that may be very confusing to you. There's a thing in this game called upkeep, and it's both good and bad. It helps curtail large groups. It keeps things in line with the flow of the ecosystem in Rust. So if I go up to the tool cupboard and I hit use, and in my case it's E, you're now looking inside of the tool cupboard. Now everything connected to this foundation has a cost per 24 hours, and that is the upkeep, based off of how big it is, what type of material, what type of structure it is. Is it a foundation? Is it a rooftop? All those things are weighed in to give you that calculation. Now, in order for us to not get decay, so if we kind of look with the hammer, and it says 250 out of 250. If I didn't stick anything in here, this would slowly decay over time. And basically, it would be 250 points, and then it would go down to just an arbitrary number, 220 points, which means if someone were to attack me, it would only take 220 points to get rid of this. So, what you want to do is you want to stick wood in here. So now I have, it's protected for 50 days. Now, backing up, there's a few things here. The cupboard's wide open, and anybody can walk up and claim this. Anybody. And a lot of times people will do things like this, and it works. They'll build around and make a doorway and make a locked door, and then they're like, my TC is fine. And in most cases, yes. But if you think about it for a second, if I'm to break into your building and I broke through the door, that's it. I just walk up and I use your tool cupboard. But if it's locked, I have to destroy your tool cupboard and then place down another one. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people not lock their tool cupboards, and that will put us right into the next topic, how to lock things on a basic level. Now, this is going to seem really weird at first, because honestly, the code lock is the more straightforward of the two. the wooden lock is cheap, but it has a few caveats. So if you're solo, it's no big deal. But if you're in a group, you basically have to dedicate a person that's going to open and close doors for you until you can afford code locks, because as we saw before, code locks cost 100 metal fragments, and metal fragments can only be made by smelting. Anyways, so we have a wooden code lock, which costs 100 wood. We're going to place it on the tool cupboard. Now, and this is where it gets weird, and hopefully everybody follows me here. We have a lot of options. So what I'm going to do is go up to the code lock. I'm going to hold the use button. And again, we don't know what that is yet for the consoles, but it's E for me here. You see a bunch of options. You see clear authorize, which is part of the tool cupboard. You have open, which is part of the tool cupboard. Deauthorize, part of the tool cupboard. You have pick back up, which removes the lock completely. And that's only if it's unlocked. And then we have create a key and lock. Okay, so I'm just going to lock it. Okay, so now it went from green to red. You see that little marker right in the center of the screen there? It went to red. Now, if the person who locked it, if it's anybody else, nobody can access this tool cupboard. They literally have to destroy this tool cupboard to get building privilege. So it basically stops people in two ways. So not only do they have to break the door, they then have to destroy the tool cupboard and then place their own. So anything you can do to slow somebody down. Now, you're probably like, Jade, what's so weird about it? Why don't I want to make a key? Well, the key is weird because when you make a key like this and you're walking around, especially around your base because that's where people harvest, and they clap you, they can just walk right up and open your door, right? And your tool cupboard, and they have access. So you have to be really careful with keys. In most cases, it seems more of like a special use. In most cases, you're not going to create a key because it's a liability. So what you want to do is, if you have a group of 2 or more, dedicate one person to opening doors until you guys can afford actual keypad code locks. In this case, I'll make one real quick just so you can see the difference. But again, these aren't things you would typically have initially off the gate, or off the rip. Jeez, I can't talk. I'm going to go walk up here. I'm going to go ahead and take this one off real quick, just so you see what it looks like. This one almost done. Let me go to the crafting menu. 9 seconds. Okay. So as we start to add to this, you'll see even the twig, it's going to cost more and more. So we have 49. It was like 20 something before. Okay, so we have a code lock. So here's how you use a code lock. You're going to walk up to the TC. You're going to place it. Pressing the action button 1, which could be A, B, X, Y, triangle, circle. Who knows? So you're going to hold the use button now that's placed. Oh, you know what? I guess this is a good lesson too. Okay. You're going to hold the use button on the keypad, and now it says change code lock. We're just going to call it 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if you notice, the color went from green to red. That is important, and this is weird too. A lot of people that come in the base will, enter code locks, and then they won't realize that they've unlocked the door. And what it means is, basically, you always want to make sure, no matter who you are, if you type in a code to a door or anything, you want to make sure that the light turns red. Even if you type in the code, you don't have to type the code in anymore for that door unless somebody changes it or moves it. But make sure all of the code locks anywhere are always red for you and your team. If they are green, literally anybody can walk up without entering a code and can just open a door. And you're probably like, why would you do that? Well, there's certain cases where you unlock it and you can do special things. But like if I were to unlock it, now I can add a guest code, which is cool. So if you have like a bigger community and you want to do like a town setup and only give people limited access, that's how that works. And it works for tool cupboards and it works for doors. Okay, a little confusing, yes. So basically, if you're in the base and you've been entering codes and you somehow see that somebody left it green, just make sure you go up, hold use, and make sure you lock it again. And you're good. If you want to change the code, you go up to it, unlock it, hold the use button again, and then change the lock code to 2222. And it's good. But notice, when I changed it, it's green. So in this case, you want to make sure it's locked, and you're good. So you want to make sure you lock TCs always, whether it's with a wooden lock, and you always want to make sure you're throwing them on doors. Okay, let's go over walls, soft side, hard side, and some materials real quick. Okay, I'm going to go over to our little example stage over here and show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so the weakest is twig right here. Then you have wood, stone, metal, and armored. These last two require some type of refining of the material for you to do it. So a lot of people get overzealous. As you know, upkeep, people don't really think about that as they're building, and they build way too big and they don't realize, hey, it took me a long time to get metal and high quality metal to make armor. I didn't realize how long it took me to smelt those things and how much my upkeep is. So these are strong for sure, and this is the strongest, but the upkeep can be quite a bit, so you really want to make sure you're doing things in small bites. Anyways, I might be getting ahead of myself here, but let's talk about hard side and soft side. So for wood, this lower portion here is the hard side. The upper portion of this half wall is the soft side. I just want to show you what the wood looks like. Hard side lower, soft side upper. And for stone, hard side lower wall, soft side is the upper part. The reason why you want to make sure you're keeping hard side on the external is because it's just that. It's much harder to break, pick, or explode, or raid in general, if the hard side is facing out. And it becomes quite an art form while constructing a base, again with some level of permanency, to say, where in the future am I going to have this? Where do I need it now? What wall needs to face out? It starts to get complex very quickly. And conversely, or maybe in parallel would be a better word, if you were to steal somebody's base, which is cheap, it's awesome, it's a big time savings for you, but making do with somebody's base that maybe isn't perfect, you know, especially on building terrain, because you can't always build the way you want to. So thinking on your feet is also a big part of this. Okay, so going to the metal, lower side is the hard side of metal, and the soft side is the cross braces. This one's an easy read. I find that the twig is kind of hard to see. Let me show you what the twig looks like. Did I put the twig up? Oh, I didn't. Twig's kind of a hard read, and I find that the armor hard side, soft side is a bit hard to read. So if you look here, this bottom portion is the hard side and the upper is the soft side. Do you see much of a difference? Okay, so let me just show you with the tip of the bow. It's the outline. See how there's a border here and a border here? There's almost always going to be some kind of lip on the top or bottom, but if you see an edge here, you're looking at the inner part of the armored wall. So hard to remember, right? Because, I mean, they literally look the same. So if we go inside here, we should be able to see the same thing. See how we have these cross braces here on the inside? And then on the outside, we don't. So, yeah, like I said, hard read for sure. So hard side and soft side. So you always want to make sure the hard side is facing outward. And again, if you're looking at the top of a structure, let me go ahead and run around here real quick. Ceilings also have a hard and soft side. So if somehow somebody gets up under your structure, you want to really make sure that if they're going to pick upwards or blow upwards, that you've got some form of protection. So again, this is the hard side of the ceiling for armored, hard side for metal, ceiling, hard side for ceiling stone, hard side for ceiling wood, and twig, which is just twig. I mean, isn't it all soft? And then as you see in the bottom here, there's the soft side of the ceiling. Soft side of wood, that's an easy read. Most of these are pretty easy to the ceilings. I don't think there's one that's like confusing because you can't flip them. Now, when you are placing things down, you can rotate them. And this is one of the only times you can make a modification when you're building. Let me just show you this. I hope this makes sense and it's not out of order. I'm not missing a critical piece here. Okay, so this is already settled in down here, right? So I can't rotate these. If you've just placed these recently, you'll have an option on this like 9, 11, 10 o'clock area to rotate. But as you can see, we've passed that time to make any modifications. And also, since we own this, we would normally see a destruction option here. So this is an excellent example of once it settles in, you're not going to have an opportunity to make those changes. But let's say this wall is facing soft side out, and it's actually not right now. But if we were to change this to wood for a few seconds, maybe 30 seconds to a minute, you can rotate. But when that thing goes away, that's it. But also notice we don't have the option to destroy. That is not an option for us. So if somehow you're upgrading and you find that your upgrades have gone poorly, like this happens often. Like, you see how we have a soft side, whoops, I fell at the back. See how we have the soft side facing out? That would be really bad. Somebody could literally come up with a pick and chisel away at your door. They would need no raid materials other than some melee. So in that case, if you're upgrading, you could flip it. I know it's weird, but it's the object permanence or the building permanence that really makes it crazy in this game. Let me go ahead and upgrade that to wood. Now we're going to talk doors. Let me go over to... I have like a little setup over here. We've covered the code locks. We'll go over a more specific building because there's a lot to cover. But we're going to be hitting the basics here. Okay, so when you get started, it's always going to be wood. So you've got the double doors. Okay, so let's start with the basic one here. We got 300 for the wooden door, and then we have the wooden double door, which is 600. And you're probably asking yourself, man, why would I want a double door? It's literally twice the cost. Well, there's some ins and outs to that. You can make some stronger doors that are only double door size or wide. And because building is so permanent here, it's virtually impossible to make that change unless you destroy the wall yourself. Even though you own the building, you would have to destroy it once you're past that grace period. I don't know why I just didn't grab those. Go ahead and snag these bad boys here, and we'll walk over. Okay, so we just have an actual doorway here, but I'll show you what a double door looks like. And maybe why you would consider that. And again, it's all about planning. So this technically isn't that safe because if you had a sleeping bag in here, you want to make sure you have a door. So you would place the door, but same with the TC, you want to make sure you've got some sort of lock. And since we're rust poor, you want to make sure you have a wooden lock to start. Walk up to the doorway. And as you can see, it's green, so that's bad. If you're the owner, so you want to walk up and lock it. Bingo. Now, quick note, as we do have hard and soft sides here for the structures, doors do not have a hard and soft side. It's just a matter of which way they swing. Do they swing in? Do they swing out? Do they swing up? But the door frame that I'm highlighting here does have a soft side, and since we've recently modified this, we can rotate it. But in like 30 seconds or less, we won't be able to rotate it. So that's hardened. The structure all the way around, and if we look on the inside of the tool cupboard, now it costs 144 wood every 24 hours. So one of the other things, and I do have a raid video that covers this, and again, we're just covering the basics for construction and some basic gotchas. Wood is great when you get started, but you'll soon realize that the ecosystem that you're playing in will soon evolve past wood. And so you should constantly be trying to upgrade and move forward and create honeycomb, more additional air pockets for yourself. Whether it be, well, here, let me show you a basic honeycomb. Here's a basic one right here. Let me go ahead and destroy this with a bow. Notice this was already been built, so I can't actually, there we go. Bow and arrows are a pretty efficient way to take out twig. We jump crouch? Okay. This would be a basic airlock. I recommend anybody who's getting started, 1x1 is great, and everybody starts that way, but you really want to make an airlock as quickly as possible. So, and an airlock is just another door passageway, like so. I am going to craft a few more of these. Okay. And if you have another door here, basically what that means is if you come out of your TC room, open it, and then close this, and then open the next door, somebody can't just rush in and go right up to your TC and then destroy it. So airlocks are your best friend. Another quick technique here for opening and closing doors. Oh, is that bow in the way? Oh, maybe not. Okay. foundation snap in a however they desire, right? They kind of just do whatever they want. Man, I was hoping to do it like this. Yeah, we'll do it like this. This is not ideal. Okay, so creating these triangle airlocks, you want to be careful because they're 45-degree angles. So you want a proper mixture of squares and triangles to match up. And that may or may not make sense depending on what how much exposure you've had to something like this. I'm going to have to make this a big boy so it's not super crazy. All right, so the airlock here, maybe this is a little bit too much, but if you were to create an airlock like so, I'll just do it in twig because that's all I can afford. Oh, I have fancy door skins, so these are just wooden doors. Another example of being creative with what you have is, since doors are hard on both sides, you can go to the left or right of the door frame. As you see, it's blue, and it shows you which direction it's going to swing in. So if you place it so it swings inward, you'll notice that I can't pass through this doorway and then that door is open, kind of creating its own little single pass-through airlock. And conversely, if I place this door that swings inward as well, if somebody were to leave a door open, literally I'm trying to run through this doorway, you can't. So, you know, playing with door swings and the space that you do have is really important. Basically, that airlock right there prevents people from running in on your base, or as the people say in Rust, going deep. Oh yeah, in this case, yeah, you can totally walk under this. So be aware of that. So you would want to make sure you have that to stone, because literally somebody could just slip under your base. So in this case, we'd make this stone. And this kind of curtails into the last piece. Now that we've added to it an extra material, if you look at our upkeep, or I'm sorry, our building privilege, it now says red, building decaying. That's because we don't have any stone in the tool cupboard. So if we go in here, with the tool cupboard that's locked for us, we can place 1,000 units of stone, and now we have 2 days, 23 hours, and 46 minutes. So again, as you start to upkeep, whether it's metal, armored, I mean it would be armored, but it's high quality, wood, stone, you need to make sure you're staying on top of those materials in your upkeep. And I always tell people to make sure that the doors are locked, like in this case, none of these doors are locked, but also make sure that you're doing your builds in very small bites. It's very easy to bite off way more than you can chew on building, and then your upkeep becomes something you just can't keep up with, really. So keep that in mind. All right, that is all we have for the basics for building in Rust for both PlayStation 4, Xbox, and the PC. We'll have more advanced building videos to come, and lots of other how-to tutorials, guides for Rust coming. We already have them out, but we'll also have more coming here in the very near future as we get closer and closer to the beta and the release for the consoles. Man, I cannot wait for this. I'm so excited. I can't wait for the beta, man. That's like, puberty. I mean, that's like just around the corner. I'm super pumped. So if you found this useful, be sure to drop a like on the video. And again, if you have any questions, ideas, comments, throw them in the description down below. I do check those. And if you're super thirsty for more knowledge on Rust, we do stream it. Let me tab over here, and on my channel I do have a Rust videos playlist that focuses just on that. And we do play on official vanilla servers right now on PC, but it will be console when that does happen. So if you'd like to watch our full-blown long format streams, we've got that over there. And again, an excellent reason to subscribe to the channel and turn on those notifications. We do Rust, we do a lot of open world survival games, new and old. We're also doing DayZ as well. So man, it's just what a great year for open world survival. We have so many cool things coming. I am super pumped for Rust to come to console. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next video. Love you, bye.